In one Monday morning in a winter, several winters ago, I had about 8 patients, 5 of whom were male. And what happened is 4 of them came in asking for the same particular name brand drug for erectile dysfunction. So somehow there had been an epidemic of erectile dysfunction that had occurred over the weekend. Upon questioning, no one had an indication for this drug, a medical indication for the drug. And what happened? Well, it was the Super Bowl. And there had been a whole series of advertisements about this drug, and people came in wanting the drug.
Ask your doctor if Viagra is right for you.
There's not a week that goes by. Not a week that goes by. What about the purple pill, doctor?
Next time, Nexium, the healing purple pill.
My concerns about direct-to-consumer advertising are that it is providing misleading information to people about prescription medicines, about the pros and cons of using prescription medicines, because the aim is to sell a product.
A morning refreshed, recharged.
The aim is not neutrally to provide health information to the public. It's not education, it's sales.
We're gonna make some music.
Very commonly, they'll say something to me like, well, Doc, I just saw about this medicine. Is this one I should be on?
Another heart attack could be lurking, waiting to strike.
You know, I saw it on TV and they said that this was the best studied medication. Should I be on it?
Direct consumer advertising in regards to medications is pretty serious.
Where does depression hurt?
You're actually dealing with people's lives and their health care versus any other type of advertising. And I think that direct and misleading information can actually hinder people in making the appropriate decisions for themselves and hinder collaborative conversations that they could have with their healthcare providers.
So the interesting thing to me is this is how the direct-to-patient marketing kind of changes that game quite a bit, doesn't it? Because then the game becomes very similar to the Pepsi versus Coke kind of strategy, where you just need to get the consumer to ask for that particular one, or to feel like they want to be part of that club that uses that medication or drinks that soda.
It's shifted the meaning of what a medicine is from a medical treatment to a consumer product, to a brand.
I will sometimes try to alert patients that with new drugs there usually are side effects that have not been discovered by the time these drugs hit the market. And because they're so new, we're not sure that they're as safe as alternative drugs that may be available. So I'll try to alert them that they may not want to be the guinea pig to discover that there is some as yet unrecognized side effect to this new drug. And it may be safer to wait a year or two until we know more about the drug.
When the drug comes to market, that's where we find a lot of the drug interactions, a lot of the contraindications start to come up, because then we're starting to use the drugs in everybody. And then that's when we learn about possible side effects, adverse events, deaths, etc.
If you develop suicidal thoughts or actions, stop taking Chantix and call your doctor right away.
I think it actually potentially fast forwards some medications that are newer into a more broad use, and could actually have you find out about unintended consequences that could affect a broader population than if they had just been gradually integrated into medical practice over a longer period of time, and you had a better chance to understand what their potential long-term effects were.
Ask your doctor. Ask your doctor.
Talk to your doctor.
Ask your doctor. Ask your doctor.
Ask your doctor if Boniva is right for you.
They're getting the message again and again and again in ad after ad after ad. Ask your doctor for X. Ask your doctor.
You need to have the Detrol discussion with your doctor.
So I think it shifts a bit of the threshold at which a person might consider using a medicine.
Ask your doctor if a Cialis option is right for you.
If they're not asking their doctor, they're probably asking their pharmacist. Being in the profession, we're probably the most trusted professional in healthcare, And sometimes we have those conversations because there's not enough time, or they just don't want to bother their provider in regards to whatever questions or the last media frenzy on a particular drug, whether they've seen it on TV or newspaper or magazine ad.
I did a comparative study in family doctors' offices in Sacramento and in Vancouver. And what I was looking at was how often patients came in and asked for an advertised medicine. If they asked for it, did they get it or not? And then if a doctor prescribed the medicine, how confident or ambivalent were they in that treatment choice compared to other drugs that they prescribed to other patients on the same day? Canada is like most countries in the world in that it does not allow direct-to-consumer advertising. The patients in Sacramento were about twice as likely to ask for an advertised medicine as the patients in Vancouver. But if they asked for an advertised medicine, they were very likely to get it in both settings. And also, if they didn't get the drug that they asked for, they were very likely to be prescribed something else. So it had an effect on prescribing volume as well. And people who reported that they had seen more ads were also more likely to ask for an advertised medicine.
An article that was produced by the Kaiser Family Foundation a few years back mentioned that 30% of the patients actually did talk to their provider in regards to a drug that they saw on TV. And out of those 30%, about 44% actually got a drug that was recently advertised in talking with the provider. It may not have been the best treatment therapy for the patient, but because they asked for it and the provider may not have wanted to say no to the patient, they actually received the medication.
A patient is receiving a new drug that really truly is not better than an older drug, or truly not safer than an older drug. And so what we've ended up doing then is prescribing an expensive drug to a patient, and now the patient has to pay for that, or the patient's insurance company has to pay for it.
One of the good things about direct-to-consumer marketing is it's brought up patients discussing their depression a lot more often. It's brought a lot more men talking about their erectile dysfunction that they never would because they were embarrassed by it. Now it's not an embarrassing thing. It's on TV every half hour. So it brings it out and it gets those good discussions that maybe weren't there before.
Morning, I'm Dr. Thompson.
I think that if a patient comes in and asks for an advertised medicine, the important thing really is to try to shift the conversation from the drug back to the patient. So to figure out what is the problem that brought them in the first place? What are they feeling, and why is it that they think that they need this medicine?
And so I would tell the patient, the one you're on, we know you don't have side effects right now. You're tolerating it well, you feel good on it. We also know you can afford it. And it has very good evidence behind it. It's not being promoted on TV because it's generic now. So there's no major profit being made from it to the same degree as this other medicine. So I think the reason you saw it is not because it's the best medicine, but because it's the best marketed medicine right now.
I think oftentimes they ask for a medication for a condition that they don't have. And in some ways it's an opportunity for us to educate them about a particular disease condition. You go through the process of explaining to them that the drug is not appropriate for them.
I feel my job as a physician is to educate them, saying, well, let me tell you the pros and cons about that medication sort of thing, and let me compare it to some other medications that I've used for that condition, and then let's judge together what's the best.
It just doesn't go away.
The young woman came in and she was taking orthotricycline, and she said that she would like to consider taking gas. She said to me, well, I saw it on TV, so let me pull up the drug information program. So what she had said to me was, oh, they advertise it, they said it helps cure acne. I said, so let me show you the contraceptive that you're taking now. And I said, so look, they also say that it improves acne.
Sometimes I have to dispel a myth about a medication that is perpetuated by an advertising strategy. And then I have to both risk the therapeutic alliance that I've been developing with the family and the sort of desire to work collaboratively with them by trying to convince them out of that particular position and saying, you know, this medication, it's generic, it's less expensive for everybody, and it works just as well and has just as few side effects.
To do it well and to take care of your patient, you need to educate them. Not that every drug that's on TV advertised is a bad drug. Some of them may be very good drugs. They just may not be necessary for the patient, or they might be no better than, but much more expensive than what the patient already is on. And that message has to get back to the patient in an honest way. And if you do an honest discussion, you use up a good chunk of that time that you have for their medical care that day.
If there is a good generic alternative, I'll typically try to alert the patient that there is a far less expensive drug that's equally effective and equally safe. In some cases, patients are still insistent on having a newer drug because of a conviction that if it's being advertised, it must be more effective. You know, the truth is, there are times when I cave in because it's easier to do that than to embark on a protracted conversation that may still end up with a dissatisfied patient. So while I try to propose alternatives, I'm not always successful.
If you have trouble sleeping, Lunesta can give you a great night.
Patients say, I saw this commercial for Lunesta, I'm having difficulty sleeping, please prescribe it to me.
Refreshed, recharged.
And then the doctor has to explain why that may not be the right appropriate drug for them. The provider is an ally of the patient, a patient advocate. And here you have a patient saying, I really need this drug. It puts them in an awkward situation.
Ask your doctor how a Lunesta night's sleep can help you.
So I think it's sort of human nature to just say, okay, I'll write it for you.
Sometimes you can curb those long conversations by having a handout to say, you know, here's some information. Why don't you read about this? If you have some more questions, come back to us, or this is how to get in contact with us.
Our doctor told us prescription Aricept is the only treatment proven effective for all.
The claim is made that a new drug is proven effective, and the public often hears that to mean either it's very highly effective for everyone, or that it's a cure, when in fact it may be a very tiny difference. A good example of that was when Claritin anti-allergy drug hit the market. And the comparative trials that were done against placebos showed that this drug was about 10% more effective than a placebo. That is, on average, patients' symptoms were relieved 10% more than a placebo. But that's enough to make the claim that this drug is effective, to advertise it as proven effective. So patients may be expecting something much more dramatic than the drug actually delivers.
But as a patient, you would want your symptoms of allergies to be maybe 100%, 90%, 80% reduced.
The impression that you get in the ads is that these drugs work 100% of the time.
Who does depression hurt? Everyone.
You can see it very much in some of the antidepressant ads and the ads for things like social anxiety. I can relate to, you know, the scene where you're walking into a room and you feel kind of shy, you feel out of place. And then there's this, bit of information provided, and then the sort of after drug use scenes where the person is happy and smiling. There's images actually of social approval as well in the after scene that are part of what the advertiser is doing to try to create a positive connection with the drug.
Bipolar disorder is challenging and can affect your job, family, and friends.
When you look at the advertising for drugs for mental health, you get a mix of promotion of the condition and a bit of a blurring of that boundary between normal life and an actual medical psychiatric condition. And the advertisements very strongly blur that boundary.
You know that feeling of suddenly being very nervous? Maybe you're scared of being criticized, or imagine that others are judging you. Fairly
often, the US FDA also finds the ads to be illegal.
Oftentimes they're lifestyle drugs, so there's really no evidence or guidelines as to how to prescribe those type of medications.
The drugs that are mostly targeted in these advertising campaigns tend to be newer drugs, they're always on patent still, so branded drugs, they tend to be for milder conditions so that there'll be a large target audience, particularly when you're looking at TV advertising. And they tend to be drugs for longer term use as well.
She prescribed Crestor.
In regards to the patent of Ambien, the brand name was finished and it became generic.
Tired of morning coming in the middle of the night?
With that, drug companies actually started promoting Ambien CR, which was supposedly a longer release drug. And supposedly there's 2 layers of the effect of the drug in regards to the sleep levels. Well, when we evaluated the evidence, there really is no better drug in the Ambien CR. They work just the same for our patients. We took that information and really started educating our providers and our patients and saying that, hey, there's no really need to change to a drug that's 2-3 times more expensive.
You are paying for my doctor bills, my pedicure bills, and my pill bills, and no generics either. I want top shelf meds like the kind of celebrities OD on.
I think there's this perpetuated perception that somehow these patented, protected, pharmaceutically developed prescription medications are the sort of cream of the crop, and we really want to always have access to those.
Actually, about a couple of years ago, fluoxetine, or Prozac is the brand name, went generic. And the other competing drug companies who make Paxil and Zoloft definitely went through more rigorous advertising to consumers regarding that. Generics may not necessarily be as effective, but our initiative was to get information out to our patients that yes, all SSRIs, all of them have the same efficacy when you evaluate the literature.
Salmeterol may increase the chance of asthma-related death.
Use caution when driving or operating machinery.
Or you have unusual changes in mood or behavior or thoughts of suicide.
Side effects may include
upper respiratory.
The risk information is always, the voice tends to be a bit speedier. It's always run where the audio portion of the risk information, you have visuals, happy people, people holding hands, laughing, walking through the beautiful green fields.
Some people may have nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, bruising.
They're talking about nausea, liver, liver failure, death, all kinds of things. And people are smiling and happy and talking to each other, joking around. The image is anything but what it really feels like, to be nauseous and throw up.
In rare cases, severe allergic reactions can occur.
I think in many ways, as consumers, we've become kind of deaf to that last part about may cause blindness, deafness, loss of bowel function. People don't hear that part. What they do hear is that this thing promises to make your life perfect.
I have no doubt that I'm influenced by pharmaceutical advertising. Gosh, you listen to the TV ads and things just sound so great, or you listen to the drug reps, or you read reviews that often are ghost-written in the medical literature, and things sound pretty darn good.
Surveys of physicians show that most of us are very confident that we're not influenced, but we're not so confident about our colleagues. So psychologists say this is normal. They call it the illusion of unique invulnerability.
And that's probably the education that we need, is to understand more deeply how we're influenced, because I don't think we know.
When people understand that they are vulnerable, they will avoid promotion. They'll be more thinking carefully about it when they're exposed to it. And they're more likely to check afterwards for some more independent source of information.
Pay strict attention to what you know, what you already know about a product. Don't be influenced by marketing, but pay attention to the literature and what it says about a particular treatment. Don't give up the reason why you came to this career. Maintain that philosophy, the ethics behind that philosophy, the idealism behind it. That essentially, that you promise to the patient that you won't have outside influences that are going to influence of how you care for people and what you put yourself on the line for.
I think the important thing is trying to remember that at the end of the day, we're the one writing the prescription. and that we are responsible for making decisions of medications that work, that are the least toxic, and that do not cause financial harm to our patients. I mean, those are our responsibilities.